Just Connect TV, streaming live. Just Connect TV is your entertainment and educational channel. We broadcast authentic content that will inspire, empower, and stir up the potential and positive energy in you. Just Connect TV, streaming live. Ever felt the need to learn how to play a musical instrument or improve your music skill and never knew where to go? Just Connect School of Music is the place to be. We offer professional training in music sight reading, piano, drums, guitar, saxophone, bass guitar, and vocal training. We are located at Eprin Square, 3rd floor, room 26, opposite Buruburu Police Station. Just Connect, building worship. Get yourself a high-quality branded hoodie, t-shirt, caps, umbrellas, you name it, we got it. You order, we deliver. Just Connect. Just Connect TV, streaming live.
Hello viewers, I believe you've had a fabulous week. We have another opportunity at Just Connect TV to learn more about our health and our bodies. And with me is Dr. Waithaka. He's going to tell us more about himself as we address ourselves to the issue of hypertension today. Karibu sana daktari.
Thank you so much, Bwana Maina. Now, as he has said, my name is Patrick Waithaka Mudia. I am at the tail end of training in a master's program, family medicine. At the moment, let me say that I'm born again. Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior of my soul. And I'm currently putting up a clinic, a medical center at a place called Ruiru Kimbo. That's the much I can say about myself for now.
Thank you, doctor. Today we want to address ourselves to the issue of high blood pressure or hypertension. Ile watu husema kupanda damu.
Yes.
And with the current situation in the country, the pressure and all this, probably you can tell us what high blood pressure or hypertension is all about. And is high blood pressure, ugonjwa unaitwa high blood pressure, or is it hypertension? Probably you can clarify on that as well.
Okay. Let me start by saying that hypertension or high blood pressure is one of the non-communicable diseases and is a significant cause of mortality and morbidity. And that is the reason why our viewers need to learn something about it. Maybe we can start by looking at what blood pressure is.
Exactly.
Now, blood pressure is a force that the blood exerts on the blood vessels as the blood circulates in the body. It's usually denoted by two numbers. A number which is at the top and another number which is at the bottom. Now the number which is at the top is the pressure when the heart is beating or contracting for that matter.
Okay.
And it is called the systolic blood pressure. The number at the bottom is when the heart is relaxing in the interval between 2 beats.
Okay. Okay.
And that is what is called diastolic blood pressure. Now, every time the pressure is measured, you will get the two numbers. And then it's measured in a unit called millimeters of mercury.
Okay.
Now, in terms of classification or rather definition, the most referred to body is the American College of Cardiology or the American Heart Association. They define a normal blood pressure as anything below 120 over 80.
Okay. Below.
Below.
Okay.
Yes, that is normal blood pressure.
Mhm.
Now, anything between 120 for the systolic to 129 and still below 80 diastolic is referred to as elevated.
Elevated. Okay.
Yes, so the blood pressure at that range is elevated. Now, hypertension will start from 130 to 139 systolic and 80 to 89 diastolic.
As long as both of them are at that level.
Yes, as long as both of them are at that level, we call it stage 1 hypertension.
Okay.
Now, stage 2 hypertension will start from 140 and above and 90 and above.
Okay.
Now, let me say that if your pressure is taken at any one time and it is found to be 180 and above, over 120 and above, that is now a hypertensive crisis.
Okay.
So maybe that is a simple way of defining or saying what hypertension is.
Uh-huh.
We can probably get a few other things as we go along.
And probably for the sake of the viewer, is it possible to have an elevated blood pressure after, say, you run? Probably you do an exercise that probably is highly engaging. Tuseme ukihema, does that mean that your blood pressure is high?
Yes, of course, the blood pressure will rise with the level of activity.
Okay.
And that is why, and a few other physiological things like stress. And that is why for the pressure, for somebody to be defined as being hypertensive, they are given at least 15 minutes to relax before you do the pressure
Okay.
measurement. And at the end of the day, it can never be that because your pressure was found to be elevated on one occasion, that you are given, you are defined as having hypertension. It has to be done at least twice.
Okay. Okay.
And it has to be 6 hours apart.
Okay.
Ideally, it should be on different days, and it should be more than twice, and then you take an average.
Okay.
Yes.
And probably going forward, why should we be talking about hypertension in our time and in our day?
Now, hypertension is a very important topic. The World Health Organization says that about 1.28 billion people in the world have hypertension.
That's a big number.
And that's a very big number. And a significant number of mortality can be directly attributed to hypertension. Now, the tragedy is that out of the 1.28, only 46% of them know that they have hypertension.
Okay.
So you can now see where the problem is. And then out of this 46% that know they have hypertension, only about half, that's about 21%, are on treatment and their pressures have been controlled. So there is a big portion that know they have hypertension, they are not under treatment, or rather they are being undertreated and the pressures have not been controlled. Yes.
And what are the features, like the clinical features? How would I know that I have high blood pressure or hypertension?
Now, hypertension is actually referred to as a silent killer because the symptoms are subtle. There are very few symptoms that you can pick. And that is why the vast majority of people with the disease do not know they have it because they have no reason to go to hospital to be tested. Now, when the symptoms show up, this is probably when the disease has already advanced, you will have issues to do with blurring of vision, an early morning headache. There may be nose bleeding and also buzzing of the ears. So those are some of the few symptoms that you can probably get an indication as to whether you should go for testing. And then the tragedy is that most people will know that they have high blood pressure or hypertension when they already have started having head organ damage. And we will probably be able to look at the organs that hypertension damages before it is known. And that's why it is important for the diagnosis to be made early and for the patient to be put under medication.
And before we get to that point, we'll take a short break and be able to come back. This is Just Connect TV. This is your medical platform, and we invite you to continue watching. Karibu sana.
Just Connect TV, streaming live. Just Connect TV is your entertainment and educational channel. We broadcast authentic content that will inspire, empower, and stir up the potential and positive energy in you. Just Connect TV, streaming live. Ever felt the need to learn how to play a musical instrument or improve your music skill and never knew where to go? Just Connect School of Music is the place to be. We offer professional training in music sight reading, piano, drums, guitar, saxophone, bass guitar, and vocal training. We are located at Eprin Square, 3rd floor, room 26, opposite Buruburu Police Station. Just Connect, building worship. Get yourself a high-quality branded hoodie, t-shirt, caps, umbrellas, you name it, we got it. You order, we deliver. Just Connect.
Hello viewers, this is Just Connect TV. Welcome back to our medical platform show. With me is Dr. Waithaka. Karibu tena.
Thank you.
And we are addressing the issue of hypertension, and we'd like to go forward and look at the risk factors that are involved in the condition.
Okay, now the risk factors identified with hypertension can be boldly divided into two. There are those that are modifiable, where you can do something about them.
Okay.
And there are those that are not modifiable. Those ones probably you can do nothing or very little about. I can probably mention the ones that are non-modifiable, and then maybe we can dwell a little more on the ones that are modifiable. The first one is the genetic component of it, because it's already very clear that if you have a very close family relative with hypertension, say your mother or your father, both of them, or even your siblings, the chances that you will develop hypertension as you continue with life are greatly elevated. And I think it is important, even though you may not do anything about that, but it is important to know, so that you can start preparing yourself early enough in terms of the prevention and promotion of health. I think we will have an opportunity to deal with it towards the tail end of the presentation. Now, the other non-modifiable risk factor is gender. And what has been noted is that males are at a higher risk of developing hypertension up to the age of 65 years. Now, beyond the age of 65 years, the opposite actually happens. women, the risk of them developing hypertension after 65 years is more than for male gender. The other one is the age. You know, nowadays people can live for a long time because things that used to cut life short in the years that have gone by, the health sector has been able to address to them, and we have generally an aging population, and hypertension, the risk of developing hypertension increases with age, and this is simply because as you age, the blood vessels tend to stiffen, such that they will not dilate as they should when the heart contracts, and that increases the vascular resistance, which is also one of the main components in raising the pressure. And the tragedy with this is that if you try to address the promotion and health promotion and the prevention, a bit of it, when you are old, it will be a little more difficult for you to be able to deal with the problem. And I think those are the ones that I can mention for the non-modifiable. Now, for the modifiable risk factors, diet is one of the most significant risk factor. And in terms of diet, it's been noted that a diet that is high in sodium, we take the salt, the table salt that we take, is a major risk factor for the development of hypertension. And again, a diet that is low in potassium. Those are...
So it's a delicate balance between the two.
Yes, a very delicate balance between sodium and potassium. We may not have time to go into the pathophysiology bit of it, but it is noted that a diet, again, which is low in potassium, will predispose you towards hypertension.
And probably, doctor, just to ask, because you mentioned something about salt, and there is sea salt that is normally sold in our supermarket. Is it different from the normal?
There is no difference between the two in terms of their risks in causing hypertension when you overuse.
Okay.
Yes, there is no difference between the two.
Okay.
Yes.
And probably you can take us through, are there other...
Then, of course, the other modifiable risk factors include lifestyle in terms of physical activity. People are living in towns more than used to happen there before.
Exactly.
And the level of activity is generally very low. People do not want to get involved in regular exercises. And that is a major modifiable risk factor for hypertension. And the other one is being overweight or obese. So the risk actually increases greatly when you're not in the ideal weight category that you should be.
Okay. How would you determine what probably you can just in passing mention probably the levels of obesity and just how would a person know that they are obese?
Now, obesity, or rather, the most ideal instrument for knowing your ideal weight or actually size is the BMI.
Okay.
The BMI is a component of your weight and your height. So usually the doctors will be able to do the two of them, and then they can calculate for you a BMI.
Okay.
A BMI ideal should be between 25 to around 18 there.
Okay.
About that's now the ideal BMI.
Okay.
And the calculation is you take your weight and then you take your height in meters. So you square your height and use it as the denominator to divide the weight.
Okay.
Any BMI between 25 and 30, you are overweight. Now above 30, you are now obese.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, going forward, probably somebody realizes that they are hypertensive and they've started developing the symptoms as you had identified them earlier, what should be the next step?
Now,
and how do we manage the condition?
Well, thank you, Maina. That is a very valid question. I think it is recommended not to wait until the symptoms show up. In fact, in order for you to be able to understand how far we are from doing things in the ideal way, in the US and other developed countries, it is recommended that children, because children also develop hypertension, have their blood pressure measured once in a year. You can imagine. Now, you have somebody who is 40 years or 50, they have never gone to hospital because they have never felt sick at any one time. And therefore, to them, hypertension is something which they don't think about.
And probably just to cut you short.
Yes.
I'm just imagining you are 40 years, you've never gone to hospital. Then I'm imagining the moment you start being, examined, so many things may be going wrong.
Yes, many things will have already gone wrong. And for pressure, you can imagine, because the only opportunity many people have for them to be detected as having hypertension is just a random session where the blood pressure will be taken. And you see, it is normal for any patient who visits hospitals to have at least those basic measurements taken in terms of the hypertension, the pulse, and the weight and the height. So if you've never gone to hospital, most likely your pressure has never been taken. Because you never find, it's rare to find somebody who just goes to hospital to say, I want you to test, to measure my blood pressure. And so if you are unfortunate enough to have the symptoms, you need to visit your health care provider. And you should insist as a patient, because I think it is important, it is all about your health. You should insist that your blood pressure be taken. Now, once the pressure has been taken, it will fall into the categories that we listed before when we were starting the session. Now, if your pressure is elevated, that is found to be above 120 to 130, then you know something is about to happen if you do not take care. So usually it is recommended that at that time you are given a good health talk in terms of how you can promote your health and how you can prevent high blood pressure. And you do the necessary lifestyle adjustments to support yourself. Now, for those that will have their pressures measured and found to be in stage 1, we say stage 1 is 130 to 139, over 80 to 90. Again, the recommendation is that they manage their blood pressure using lifestyle adjustments that will favor health promotion and hypertension prevention. Unless they are patients at high risk of cardiovascular disease. And maybe we may not go to those details. You may find somebody has had their pressure taken. They have been found to have stage 1 hypertension. If they have comorbidities like diabetes alongside with hypertension, they will be started on drugs straight away.
Okay.
But if they do not have any comorbidities and they are not at high risk of developing cardiovascular diseases, it is recommended that they intensify the lifestyle adjustments.
So before you put on drugs, the doctor will first of all try other avenues unless there is a risk factor involved.
Yes, actually that is the recommendation.
Okay.
And it has the support of the World Health Organization, major world bodies that deal with health. And that is, at this stage, maybe probably I can tell our viewers that having high blood pressure is not a sentence to take drugs for the rest of your life. Unless, of course, your pressure was detected when it was already very elevated. And that is now leads me to the final category, where you have your pressures taken anyway in stage 2 hypertension, 140 and above, 90 and above. That one, you will be started on drugs. But the fact that you started on drugs does not mean that you will not be required to make the lifestyle adjustments.
Okay.
You will still have to combine the two. And I think it is important also to tell our viewers that living in denial is not a solution to your health.
I think that is one of the problems that people have.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So it is good for you to know your health status. It feels good to think that you are not sick, you are okay. But at the end of the day, you are doing yourself a lot of a disservice in terms of managing the complications of hypertension. Yes.
Probably if we can go further and look at what happens when this condition is not managed well. What are the resultant issues?
Okay. Now, hypertension, as I said at the beginning, is a silent killer. The fact that it has not been detected, or the fact that the patient does not know that they have hypertension, does not protect them from the adverse effects of having high blood pressure. When your pressure has been uncontrolled for a long time, one of the most important organs that gets damaged is your heart. Because your heart has been overworked for all that time that your pressure has been elevated. You see, the tragedy with the heart is that the muscles therein are not the kind of muscles that multiply.
Okay.
In terms of increase, you have like a reserve of cardiac tissue that if you damage, it will be very difficult
To
replace. And usually what happens with the heart, because of the resistance it is facing in pushing the blood under that high pressure, in most cases it dilates in its chambers, and also the muscle thickens. And when the muscle thickens, the blood supply to the muscle gets challenged. And at the end of the day, you start having patients that are complaining of chest pains that are most likely coming after they have exercised for a short duration of time, which is called angina. You may have a patient who has a heart failure that has been progressive, and in heart failure the heart is unable now to pump the blood, and therefore is unable to move the waste and also supply oxygen and nutrients to various parts of the body. And that is a major contributor of morbidity and mortality. Or you can have a person that develops cardiac arrest and subsequent death because the blood supply to the heart has been cut and there is no restoration in good time, and the patient will most likely die. So that is for the heart.
And probably, you can help us to differentiate between what is a heart attack the same as cardiac arrest?
Yes, heart attack and cardiac arrest can be used interchangeably. You can interchange the terms.
Okay.
So the only probable difference is when it comes to heart failure, because failure is a prolonged process. Yes.
Okay. And probably we'll have time to address issues of the heart in our upcoming programs. And we'd like to take a break so that we come back and have a look at the preventive measures and other organs that may be affected by not managing the condition properly.
Just Connect TV is your entertainment and educational channel. We broadcast authentic content that will inspire, empower, and stir up the potential and positive energy in you. Just Connect TV, streaming live. Ever felt the need to learn how to play a musical instrument or improve your music skill and never knew where to go? Just Connect School of Music is the place to be. We offer professional training in music sight reading, piano, drums, guitar, saxophone, bass guitar, and vocal training. We are located at Eprin Square, 3rd floor, room 26, opposite Buruburu Police Station. Just Connect, building worship. Get yourself a high-quality branded hoodie, t-shirt, caps, umbrellas, you name it, we got it. You order, we deliver. Just Connect. Just Connect TV, streaming live.
Daktari, what is the importance of health knowledge and medicine in terms of management as you go along ahead with the issue of hypertension management?
Okay, thank you so much, Maina. In terms of managing hypertension, because we don't look at it in terms of the drugs alone or the medications that will be prescribed by the doctor. It should be looked at wholesome in terms of how you can empower the patient to become a partner in the management of his own health and the improvement of the health outcomes that you set with the patient.
Yeah.
And that starts by giving health education to the patient to let them understand the significance of managing the disease in terms of how healthy they will be in the coming days. And the aim is to get their support, because it has been shown that a patient who is motivated and willing to support the doctor to manage their own health will comply with the treatment regime that will be given in spite of the side effects that might be found along the way.
Exactly.
And then again, as is known for non-communicable diseases, it is better managed not by one person, but by a team. By a team, I mean various cadre of healthcare providers. And there need to be background checks to see where you were with the patient when you started, where you were the last visit, and where you are today.
Exactly.
So that you can set the goals that you need to achieve for the time being before the next visit. In terms of health education, and we took some time during the first part, we dwelt with the food or the dietary modification that needs to be made. We also touched on the lifestyle changes, including doing away with the sedentary lifestyles, and also engagement in terms of regular physical activities. Now, if we take it further and go to the drugs, once it has been identified that you are in stage 2 hypertension, the drugs will be started. Usually the recommendation is to start with one drug, and then you advance in terms of increasing the dosage of the drug to the maximum that can be tolerated by the patient.
Okay.
While also taking into consideration the input of the patient. Because if a patient were to take, say, for example, a drug, the first recommended drug has a side effect in terms of coughing. Patient, comes with an intractable cough. So you should not dismiss the patient's concern, because you just put away the drug, and your outcomes will start, going south.
Exactly.
So it should be a collaborative engagement where you listen to the patient and you replace the drug with another drug of a similar class that will be able to help in achieving the desired goals in terms of the blood pressure. At the same time, it is also important to check and see whether there are comorbidities that the patient has at the initial presentation when you make a diagnosis of hypertension. And these comorbidities include diabetes. Never allow a patient whom you've diagnosed with hypertension to go home without doing a random blood sugar, because the additive adverse effects of the two drugs are, phenomenal compared to if the patient had only one drug.
Exactly.
And it is not good for you to treat the hypertension and neglect the diabetes part of it. And then there are also the cholesterol levels you need to check, because they will all add together. And the net effect is that they will cause atherosclerosis, and then the patient will start developing either stroke or progressive heart failure. So you need to look at the patient as a whole. Don't look at the disease that you have made a diagnosis of, but treat the patient as a whole. Where you find that there is reason for you to refer the patient to a secondary care provider or a tertiary care provider, it is recommended that you do the referral immediately. It could be things to do with mental health that you feel you are not adequately prepared as the primary care provider to deal with. You refer the patient to the people that can help them. For the drugs, so long as the targets have been achieved, you retain the patient on that drug until the targets have started not to get achieved, or until the side effects are unbearable.
Sorry to cut you short. I'm just wondering, assuming the primary caregiver does not refer you or is not in a position to be cooperative, what is the responsibility of me as a patient?
That is why it is important for the patient to insist on being educated about the disease, hypertension. It is wrong for you to accept to just go home with drugs. You should ask your healthcare provider, whoever they are, that you need some information about the disease. And of course, I am very sure with continuous learning that is taking place among various cadres of healthcare providers, they know that the patient is a partner in the treatment of their disease. And should it not be accorded to you, it doesn't do any harm to present yourself. If, for example, you are feeling that there are changes in your vision, blurring of vision, and you have been told you have hypertension, I think it will not be wrong for you to present yourself to an eye specialist and tell them that you had this diagnosis, and now the things to do with the eyes are here, and they can take it up from there and give you the recommendations in terms of how often you should go for an eye examination. When one drug has not been effective in lowering the blood pressure, it is recommended that you put an additional drug. And one of the things that I want to mention to our patients is that when you are on one or two drugs, the side effects will be high. But the most important thing for them to be able to understand is that they need to really reason it out with themselves, because certain side effects can be accommodated to achieve the outcomes that are expected out of the treatment. It is only when the side effects have reached a stage where they cannot be tolerated that the drugs can be removed and maybe probably a replacement sought. Again, when it comes to the replacement, you might find that the drugs that will be recommended are very expensive, whereas you cannot afford as a patient, and you can still continue taking the drug that had been prescribed there before, so long as you can be able to bear with the adverse effects of taking that drug and taking it for a long time. In terms of the lifestyle, the other preventive measures, it doesn't mean that because you've been given the drugs, you do away with the preventive measures that we've talked of, you have to keep going on with them as you continue taking the drugs. And the other things that the patients need to really understand is that the outcome in terms of taking the drugs, those drugs have been tested over a very long duration of time.
Exactly.
And it has been confirmed that you can take them for as long as the years are there and the drug is working for you. Yes.
Going forward, are there other diagnostic ways that can be done before you now get to this treatment?
Yes, I think we've just mentioned the comorbidities that are associated with diabetes in causing very adverse effects to the cardiovascular system. And patients will most likely be asked to go and do an ECG, which will give a lot of information concerning the status of the heart, which is what pumps the blood around the body. And if necessary from the clinician's point of view, and also from the results that will come out of the ECG, an echo can also be done. And an echo is a little bit more informative in terms of how the valves are functioning, in terms of how the blood is flowing, whether blood is flowing forward, because there's around some bit of regurgitation when the heart contracts. But that can be assessed by an echo, and it can tell us even the dynamics to do with the heart muscle itself, so that at the end of the day, if treatment needs to be given for hypertension, then it is tailored also to take care of the damage that has already been done to the heart by the disease. Then in case of a patient who is found to also have had high cholesterol levels, they are lowered at the same time. So you give a drug to control the pressure, and you also give a drug, if necessary, to control the cholesterol levels. And diabetes is also treated, and the targets are a little lowered than for the general population. For example, if you find that a patient has hypertension only and doesn't have diabetes, the recommended target blood pressure will be a little higher than if you found that the same patient had diabetes. You require to treat the hypertension to a level, a lower level than if they didn't have diabetes. And then, of course, we had mentioned about obesity, and the patients can be treated for obesity. If you find that there is a hypertension and the patient also has obesity, besides endeavoring to lower the body mass index to the recommended levels, you can, through the lifestyle adjustments and the dietary changes, drugs can also be prescribed for helping the patient lower the obesity. Yes.
I'm just wondering, what is, assuming a patient is not, an individual does not have the hypertension.
Yes.
And how can they avoid, considering there could be other predisposing factors, but say genetic, I don't know whether it can be. How can I avoid? And assuming that the community also wants to eat.
Yes.
how do we go about this?
You see, Maina, one of the things about health, and we said it in the first part, is that it is better to prevent than to cure. And people fear knowing, and for obvious reasons that you don't want, you think that it will bother you, that you know now you have a disease that you will remain with for the rest of your life. But the truth of the matter is, if you know, you are better equipped to deal with the problem.
Exactly.
I can give an example.
Yeah.
If you are just walking along the road and you found a person afraid, a good Samaritan, who tells you that around that corner there are criminals that are robbing people, you can't tell the good Samaritan that you like being in the dark, that you don't like knowing where dangers are lacking along the way. Probably you will use that information and turn back to avoid that danger.
Exactly.
We should take our health in the same dimension. If you went and you are told that you are just about to get hypertension, you are better prepared to deal with the problem at that time than to wait until you present with a hypertensive crisis.
Exactly.
And once you get that information, you can keep yourself healthy. If you didn't have a regular exercise regimen, because you didn't know the importance of exercises. If you were eating, whatever was presented to you, or whatever was available, or whatever you found to be sweet, you will get the information from the healthcare provider whom you visited. Even though you don't have the disease at that stage, they should be able to prepare you in advance to tell you exactly how you can eat in a healthy way to keep your health at that level. And I think it is important for me to mention that of late the government has seen the sense of prevention and health promotion. Some of the countries that have done very well in the world, including Cuba, are the countries that were able to empower the population in terms of them taking care of their health. You don't have to wait for the patient to present in hospital. You can even go to their homes and prepare them in advance for hypertension. And much of the screening that needs to happen to our adult population should be done right in the comfort of their homes where they are not sick.
Exactly.
Because when you wait for them to come to the hospital, they end up consuming a lot of resources, they end up consuming a lot of time, and the outcomes at that stage usually are not as good as when you have visited them to empower them before the adverse effects of the disease sets in. Yes.
On the same trail, I would want if you could talk about the place of the society and the impact of culture, especially the way we've been brought up. How does it impact on management of hypertension? Because there are people who believe that hospital is not their thing, unless apeleko, or they have some phobia. Say when they were growing up, the only threat they were given was like, behave yourself or I'll take you to the doctor and to dungwa sindano. And now they developed a kind of a phobia, and them and the hospital is a whole new thing.
We need to look at health in general, not just hypertension. We need to look at health in general from a very broad perspective.
Exactly.
It cannot be left to the Ministry of Health alone or to the healthcare providers alone. It is a responsibility of the society, a responsibility of the community, and indeed a responsibility of the nation to ensure that the citizens therein are healthy. One way of looking at it is that what are the resources, for example, that exist within a community that can go a long way in helping a patient to keep themselves fit by regular physical exercises. If I ask an ordinary person in Nairobi, they will not even tell you where the nearest playing field is. But sure, I can bet there is either a school near where they live, and they can probably be able to access the field where the children play without any hindrances. If they were to go there and request in a good way that they want to be, to involve themselves in utilizing the facility as it is. If you looked at the neighborhood in terms of the gyms, there are many facilities that offer aerobic exercises, but you find that that facility is just across the street, but the person is not aware because either they are not interested or they have not had an opportunity to be told. And I think in terms of the
community, our churches and the mosques, because that is where majority of our people go. As much as you care about their spiritual well-being, it is also important to care about their physical well-being. And that can be a very good opportunity for the healthcare workers, especially if you can tap within the congregation, because most likely they might be found one or two. You give them an opportunity. If you fail to get one, you can ask the nearest health facility and organize with them for seminars where people can be taught how they can utilize the resources within their locality to promote their own health. Now, for those that have been found to have hypertension, there are clubs or groups of people with similar diseases that have, come up together or can be brought up together so that they can encourage one another.
Exactly.
When you share experiences with somebody who has had hypertension for, say, 20 years, and they have managed to keep it under control, and you are only starting, you can get motivated.
Exactly.
Yes, because you have to exchange things that your fears, you can exchange your fears, and they can be able, from a point of view that is not medical, to tell you things that can really, allay the fears that you had.
Exactly.
So there are many things that can be done, but as I said, it should not be left to the healthcare providers. Now, in terms of families, families are actually the basic unit. And if you can harness the resources that are available in a family, you will be able to manage not only hypertension, but other non-communicable diseases. They can be easily addressed when you have roped in the family to also help. You can take it, for example, a husband has been found to be hypertensive. The person whom this person relates with on a daily basis is the wife.
Yeah.
So if you can bring the wife on board, even though herself, she doesn't have the disease, and try to educate the two of them, she will be in a better position to prevail upon the husband.
Exactly.
To comply with the medication, and also to ensure that what he uses, how she cooks right from the kitchen, she already knows what is required and what is not required. Because you can imagine, you have taught the husband, told them that you should not use cooking fat that is solid. You should use the one that is liquid.
Yeah.
You have told them even the quantities of ugali that they can eat, the vegetables, whatever it is. But the person who is cooking in the kitchen
does not care
prefers
about
to use that which is solid. And she continues to do so.
Yeah.
The husband will most likely not know what was used to cook the meal. So the families should be roped in so that they can also participate in terms of improving the outcome for this particular patient. Then in terms of the radio stations, the televisions, mass media, I have noted of late that a lot of activities in terms of health talks, like the one we are doing at the moment, in terms of articles that are written in the newspapers, people are trying to seek for individuals that can give the information free of charge on a platform that can be available for a majority of our population, so that they can be empowered right from their homes.
Exactly.
And on this note, I can encourage our viewers to keep on checking and seeing whenever we have an opportunity to give them, a talk like the one we're having at the moment, that they can also be able to participate by viewing. Maybe as we go along, we can also plan, as God allows, for opportunities where they can ask questions concerning the things that they really feel are pertinent to their health.
Very true.
Yes.
Very true.
Yes.
And I believe that that would be a good place to part. And I believe that you found this very informative. Sijuka, Doctor, you have a parting shot other than the one that
I think my parting shot in terms of hypertension will be that it is a disease that is very easily managed. It's very common, as we started in the first part. We showed the figures, but we also were able to bring up the fact that a majority of our people do not know that they have the disease.
Yeah.
So I would encourage any particular person who is 40 years and above, even if you do not feel like you're sick, you have no symptoms, take an opportunity, present yourself to a health facility and ask them to take your blood pressure at a random level. And you will be surprised that the information that will come out of that engagement of 10 minutes can be, life-changing and life-saving.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
This is Just Connect Online TV, me and my show. Join us on our upcoming shows, and I believe that you'll find this informative. Our desire is that you will enjoy health and promote it even to your relatives. Bye-bye, and have a good time.
Just Connect TV, streaming live. Just Connect TV is your entertainment and educational channel. We broadcast authentic content that will inspire, empower, and stir up the potential and positive energy in you. Just Connect TV, streaming live. Ever felt the need to learn how to play a musical instrument or improve your music skill and never knew where to go? Just Connect School of Music is the place to be. We offer professional training in music sight reading, piano, drums, guitar, saxophone, bass guitar, and vocal training. We are located at Eprin Square, 3rd floor, room 26, opposite Buruburu Police Station. Just Connect, building worship. Get yourself a high-quality branded hoodie, t-shirt, caps, umbrella, you name it, we got it. You order, we deliver. Just Connect. Just Connect TV, streaming live.